responsible decisions when it comes to buying games. Means nothing to someone with ADHD like myself. So, what is the new gaming meta, as told by some random coffee enthusiast on the internet who plays video games that are really old, like Final Fantasy II, which I just finished, by the way. Shout out to everyone who was in stream today. Shout out to all the new people who have bit beards. If you know, you know. We got through the whole Final Fantasy II game. It took 6 hours, well, twice. I think my final runtime was like close to 9 hours. It was really actually a lot of fun. These pixel remasters are proving to be extremely fun. But I got a really great comment by someone who said, please help a fellow ADHDer when it comes to decision making in playing video games. And let me tell you, as someone who has ADHD, as someone who questions everything, every decision they ever make, as someone who's trying to figure out what's the best gaming thing to do right now, and also that my table's not centered, as someone who all of these things apply, I actually have something for you because I think a lot about this a lot, right? Okay? So before we even get to any of that, I want to talk about a conversation that I was having online. So a conversation in the chat over on twitch.tv/jdxcoffee. I go live 3 to 4 times a week in the morning time. A conversation we were having was about, like, what's the new gaming meta? What is it going to look like? Because the world, manufacturing, all these things have changed. How much are video game systems going to be? Is Xbox, PlayStation, are any of these actually worth it still? And I thought it was a really interesting thing because I've gone back and forth a ton on this. Financially, I've purchased things back and forth, but also just in general. Like, I've gone back and forth in my own mind, especially more recently, thinking about, okay, how am I going to go through with the Nintendo Switch 2 and supporting hardware to make sure that my gaming hobby doesn't feel like it is overwhelming, which is what happens when you have ADHD. You start to make things just way too overwhelming that don't need to be overwhelming. And so the first thing was, how much are these gaming systems going to cost, right? If we're already seeing an increase in prices with gaming systems like the Nintendo Switch 2, and we're seeing prices for portable PCs like Lenovo Legion Go S2, as well as the Asus ROG Ally X, we're starting to get into the $8,000, $9,000, $1,000 price range for consoles to experience video games as a whole, right? With the Asus ROG Ally X being one of the most expensive ones that we can find on the market mainstream. I'm omitting Aya Neo because I don't feel like Aya Neo is one of the mainstream ones. I still feel like that specific one is actually a little bit more niche. And so when it comes to these specific systems, I'm looking at the Lenovo Legion Go S regular, as well as the Asus ROG Ally X, the Asus ROG Ally Standard, and the Steam Deck. We're starting at anywhere as low as $500 and getting all the way up to $900, which I think is the most expensive Asus ROG Ally X, which has, I believe, 2 terabytes of internal storage. I could be wrong. I just know that the internal storage is the reason why it's so expensive. I bring those into the equation because I think it's fair to say that at this point, portable PCs, whether they're ones that are standard with just Steam, or they're ones that have Windows, or ones that you've customized to have Bazite, this is a console. The portable PC is a part of the console generation now. And they're not just a console, maybe a console is not a good way to put it. Let's put it as an avenue, a way to look at gaming, right? A specific pathway to go down. Portable PCs, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. Some have crossover, some don't, whatever, but this is kind of the look as it stands. And going into the next generation of gaming, seeing what PlayStation's going to bring to the table, Xbox seems to not bringing as much as we anticipated, but seeing PlayStation bringing more, Nintendo obviously bringing something new to the table, little things happening between different companies helping each other out, rumors that Nintendo and Xbox are going to be doing something together, whatever it may be. All of this is something to pay attention to when it comes to where to spend your good hard-earned cash, but most of all, where to actually put your attention. So I think it's safe to assume that with the pricing of something like the PlayStation 5 Pro, for instance, being $700 for an all-digital solution, right? Granted, it has more internal storage, it's more powerful. We're starting to enter into something that would be considered very expensive, given the fact that it has a very limited way to manage your games. I have nothing against the PlayStation 5 Pro. I am still kind of considering it. I don't know, but I'm still kind of considering it. Along with the PlayStation 5 Pro, we have also things that are considerations. Xbox Series X for just Game Pass. I don't know if purchasing games for Xbox is a thing anymore, if people are doing that, but Game Pass, right? And of course, your portable PCs. Where is the best place for you to invest, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, well, let's min-max, because I'm not talking about min-max. Let's just talk about real realistic things. With the PlayStation 5 Pro costing so much, it's safe to assume the PlayStation 6 is probably going to cost more. I don't think the PlayStation 6 is going to cost less than a PlayStation 5 Pro. I think it might match it. It certainly won't come with a CD drive. I mean, if it does, I will, eat my words and say I'm wrong. But I'd be surprised if it came with a CD drive or a disc drive. I don't see the PlayStation 6 being something that is going to happen in the next year or so. And I also don't see the PlayStation 6 having anything that is so compelling for it that you're going to be like, I'm going to choose this instead of something else, other than the fact that we have a system. I didn't roll for this. Let me roll for this. A system that is very powerful and 5 doesn't count. Don't have 5 cups. 2 blue, dude. 2. Ow. 2 blue. Heck yes. We have a system that is probably the most powerful console out there. I like PlayStation more than PC. I said it. I like PlayStation more than PC. I enjoy the console more than PC. I think it is a better experience for me more than the PC. I'm still going to use a PC. As much as I want to get rid of it, and I thought about it recently, heavily thought about getting rid of this gaming, investing all in the PlayStation. I thought greatly about it. I then realized in the next couple of years, I don't like to Marty McFly it, which is when you only make decisions based on the future. It's important to look down the line. But if I'm looking at trends and we're looking at the pricing of everything, we're looking at manufacturing, we're looking at how much things are going to cost, I truly believe that in the future, the PlayStation 6, which would be the next in line, right? PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, now PlayStation 6. The PlayStation 6 is either going to be delayed or it's going to be really far down the line. But most of all, it's just going to be expensive. Very expensive. And aside, if I remove the gaming aspect as a career versus just a hobby out of it, it's way out of reach. I mean, if a PlayStation 6 ends up costing $800 or $700, that is insanity when it comes to now having to purchase games that are going to be $70. And it starts to really get into a realm of gaming that is extremely hard to rationalize. And at one point, gaming systems, a few $100, you invest. For someone like myself to look at games and libraries, I'm like, this is really insane. And so when it comes to the hobby, I have to be a little bit practical. And since I have choices in this realm, PC, PlayStation, for some of these others, I'm like, you know what? Let's just not get crazy about it. We'll have a PlayStation 5. I'm not going to sell it, obviously. I have a PC. Let's just take a step back and wait till a Switch 2 is in hand and figure out where are the best places to enjoy games for me. Because, as I said, I have the whole Pixel remaster on my Nintendo Switch. No, let me rephrase that. On my Steam Deck OLED, on my PC, on my PlayStation. Yes, I have purchased it twice, right? Because Steam Deck and PC have the same library. I have it twice. And I chose to purchase Final Fantasy II on the Switch and play it on the Switch, and I enjoyed it, as he says, on the Switch. It was a very nice experience. Super pleasant, really, really awesome. And the reason for that is because that experience, that way to play, is actually, for me, far more immersive. I enjoy that device. And so when the Switch 2 drops and I start using the Switch 2, I might be someone who ends up being more interested in playing games on that device, even though the games run better elsewhere. Or I might have already owned them elsewhere. And so that is the first thing I would do with someone who is like, okay, how do I rationalize this? You have to figure out where are your avenues to start, right? Next is understanding when it comes to your hobby as a whole, how much time do you have? What are you going to play? How are you going to play it, right? So for me, I don't have a ton of time, but I do stream, so that does eat up a lot of time. And honestly, the reason why the PC actually gets the win for me is because of my career. it's because of the fact that I stream 3 to 4 times a week over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. It is genuinely, that's the case. If it wasn't for the fact that I am a streamer, that I play video games on the internet, I actually wouldn't be investing this much time, and I actually would have never even gotten a PC. It wouldn't have been a part of this whole thing because the PC was provided by the community. It was extremely powerful and a very awesome thing. So the fact that that exists in my gaming space is because of my circumstances. But if someone's like, yeah, my PC can't really run the games that are coming out, my PlayStation 5 does it better because it's just optimized, I don't have choices, and when I turn on my PC, I end up trying to fiddle with things to get it to run right. When I turn on my PlayStation 5, it doesn't look as good, but I just, boom, we're good to go. You start to think, okay, where am I most likely to play games? Because remember, The Last Cup, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it after this. The Last Cup, I said that gaming should be something that you can do to pass your time. It shouldn't become a waste of time. And so if you find yourself wasting your time prepping yourself to game, then obviously there's an issue there, right? You're getting something in between the decision to play a video game and actually playing the video game. And the gaming itself is the good thing. That's the substance. That's the yummy part. It's like shellfish, like mussels. Well, they're open, but... Or pistachios as nuts. Anything with a shell. Help me out, Bowser. It takes a lot of work. Crawfish. It just takes a lot of work. And so you end up going like, it's just not worth it to me. And so you skip it. Now, is crawfish good? I've heard it is. I've never tried it. But I've heard it's good. It's just a lot of work. And so if playing video games on PC or playing video games in certain ways is a lot of work for you, it's not good. I know I, for one, loved my Steam Deck experience when I was maining the Steam Deck. I'm now back on the Switch. I know, crazy. But when I was maining the Steam Deck, I loved that experience. But it became a little bit more work for me. Why did it become more work? Well, it's because the device itself started to get in the way. My library started to expand more and more and more. Updates started to have to take place in certain areas. Games didn't work as expected in some ways. Settings had to be adjusted. And though it's a very capable device, it started to get in the way of making decisions. And so while it's extremely, I mean, you get a Steam Deck and a PC combination, you got like a really optimized gaming situation. You're able to play anywhere you want. It's your same library. You invest on the PC or off the PC and you're like crushing it. You're doing a great job. This itself is a very, very good solution, but for some people it just gets in the way. I mean, in my comment section alone, I've read it plenty of times. I've gamed on PC my whole life and I've switched to console because it's just less of a hassle. I don't think everybody deals with the hassle that someone like, me, I don't know. I don't see PC gaming. I've never had an issue with the PC gaming, and because of how my PC is built, it's overbuilt. And so I don't run into performance issues either. But I'll be the first to admit that that's not the norm, and that's my own personal situation. And so I know you're like, well, what's the answer? Well, the answer is very, very subjective, but I think that when you're looking at what's going on worldwide with all of the parts and all this stuff, the fact that the PC market's increased, it's the worst time to get into PC gaming, but the best time at the same time, if you know what I mean. It's the worst because it's going to cost you the most. It's the best because there's nothing really you're missing out on a console. So it's like, it's really an investment. What's the best min-max out there? I mean, if we're looking min-max, which I don't like to do anymore, but if we want to just really min-max, right? Minimum effective dose for the maximum results, right? The minimum effective dose is going to be a Nintendo product and a portable PC. And you're going to have the maximum access to the most amount of games, right? And a portable PC with Windows 11 would give you the absolute maximum ability to play the most amount of games possible. Like if we wanted to just distill it down to the minimum effective dose, it would be a Nintendo Switch 2 and an Asus ROG Ally X. These two in tandem have the ability to play, I would say, almost every single game. You could get an external graphics card to plug into the Asus ROG Ally X and increase the graphical capabilities with a dock kind of situation, as well as a monitor and a mouse and keyboard, and you essentially have a wild PC solution. Now, that isn't the best option because there is a lot of finagling you're going to have to do, but like that is the min-max. I wouldn't necessarily do that personally. But when it comes to looking down the line, when it comes to someone with ADHD, when it comes to a parent, a husband, when it comes to someone who has a very, very small window to get something done, not because the time is constrained, but because the brain just wants to go every which way, I would always recommend hone in on one thing. What is that one thing that is going to grant you the thing you are looking for, which is playing video games? As I look at the Nintendo Switch 2, I can't stop just keep hearing the comment, which I've mentioned before, which is someone who is first, it seemed like they were criticizing the fact that I'm pretty all over the place with this stuff. And they were like, hey, I've seen you flip from Xbox to PlayStation, it's this to that. And it finally makes sense. The second I saw the Nintendo Switch 2 commercial or trailer, that is what you've been searching for these past few years. You haven't been searching for a PC experience. You haven't been searching for the next best PC handheld. You haven't been searching for PlayStation 5. You have been searching for a Nintendo Switch 2 because all you care about is Nintendo titles and you want to be able to play them better. And I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, also, I have ADHD, so things that shine make me go, ooh, nice, I like that too. And if someone is able to talk passionately enough about it, I am also like, ooh, this sounds good. And unfortunately, I'm able to talk passionately enough about it. So then I convince myself that it is something that I should be investing in and throwing everything else away. See, that's the ADHD death loop, okay? I know it's happening more, and I'm better about it, because being self-aware is step number one. It doesn't make it any different, though. And so as someone who sees the next generation down the line, I think that I'm pretty, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm pretty good at kind of predicting, like, okay, this happened here, then here, then here. This trend exists, and unless it's going to be some wild thing like what we see sometimes, then realistically, this is probably what's happening next. I mean, I could have told you 4 years ago that the next device that Nintendo puts out is just going to be a better Switch 2. Now, I couldn't have told you the screen dimension. I couldn't have told you that they were going to lean away from OLED and do LCD with HDR. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. I wouldn't have been able to tell you it's 4K capable and 120 hertz. But what I would have been able to tell you is that it only makes sense that the device that exists is one that is doing great, the Switch, that they would just go, let's just do that again, but better. Because it seems that that's all that people want. It's really low-hanging fruit, right? And Nintendo's the least predictable, and I was like, it's pretty spot on. If we look at PlayStation over the past 5 years, let me rephrase that. PlayStation over the last 5 generations. Unless they decide they're going to take a page out of Nintendo's book, it's just going to be the same thing, and it's just going to be more expensive and more capable. They're going to start throwing big buzzwords on there, like 8K gaming, 8K 60, 4K 120. Well, that has connotations, right? The connotations are, you need to go buy an 8K TV. That's not going to be cheap. Like that's crazy, right? And a lot of us have kind of changed the way that we game. We find ourselves in our gaming rooms, offices, plugged into a TV with Discord calls and friends on it. Like, gaming's changed a little bit, right? Not everybody does that, and there's still people who play on big, giant living room TVs all the time, but the gamer has kind of changed the location, right? At least the ones who are going to be watching a video of some dude rambling about video games for the next 20 minutes. Or it's already been some minutes, but you get what I'm saying. It seems that the shift in gaming has already taken place, but when it comes to how do we progress, it comes down to the very, very simple thing, which is which will you actually use? And you will not be able to make that decision until the one you're going to use is in your hands. Hypotheticals don't work. They don't work. I would have never told you that the PC would have actually made such a huge impact in my gaming without owning one. Now, does that mean you should go out and purchase everything? No. But if you're like, should I upgrade from my PlayStation 5 to my PlayStation 5 Pro because I'm going to get a Switch 2? Should I do that right now? Well, the only urgency that I would say is that we don't know if prices are going to go up again because for some reason, PlayStation, I mean, we know the reason, but they raised their prices twice. The PlayStation 5 has increased in price twice. That's wild. My original PlayStation 5 was less expensive than its new version, which has just a little bit more internal memory, as well as it's smaller, which some say is good, some say is bad. I don't know. My PC has increased in price. That's crazy. Stuff's increasing in price. And so there is a sense of urgency here. But I honestly believe that right now, with the whole gaming situation, everything that's happening in the world, the thing that we need to do most as gamers is assess, what do we already have? Does it need to actually be upgraded? And lastly, how many games are sitting on our shelves in our libraries that are just screaming to be made or played? Not made, but played. These are huge questions, right? And so for my fellow ADHDers out there, my recommendation is pick one thing that you have, uninstall everything, and install 2 games. I made a video called 2 Not 3. You can go back and watch it if you'd like. Install 2 games. Play those 2 games. If in those 2 games you go, I just need more power, there's your answer. But don't make any decisions based on the fact that things may get more expensive, that things look better, that I need this for the next 6 to 10 years. You don't. All you need to do is play more games. And be kind. All right? That's kind of the motto here. Play more and be kind. Now, there is something that I think is worth discussing when it comes to video games, and that is, how do we buy them? On sale, not on sale. And this is the topic for the next cup, which will be tomorrow, but it's real simple. I can give you a little sneak peek. This is what I'm going to tell you tomorrow. Stop shopping sales. It costs you a ton of money. All right, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Play more, be kind, be awesome. I'll see you.